In the aftermath of a cataclysm, the world lies in ruin. Civilization has crumbled, leaving behind a harsh and desolate landscape where survival hinges on bravery and resilience. And I am a courier. I embody the virtues of dependability, bravery, and adventure. I am a beacon of hope in a world where trust is a rare commodity. I have a letter, and I must deliver it, no matter the cost. Today, we're playing Courier Repacked Edition, a solo or duo TTRPG. Let's break it down. Well, hi, hello, everybody. My name is Turk. Welcome back to the Grouch Couch. Around here, we all different kinds of weird TTRPG things. But yes, that's right. Today, my friends, we're going to be learning how to play. So I'm going to be teaching you how to play Courier, and we're going to try to do a little bit of an actual play with this guy right here. Of course, I want to mention that if you want to get Courier for yourself, please use our link down in the description to help support the show. There's all kinds of links down there you can click, and by clicking those, of course, it helps support the show. So thank you so much for doing so. This helmet's pretty crazy, right? I made all this stuff myself. I used to go to a LARP convention every year about the apocalypse, Fallout, and what have you. So I have all kinds of stuff. One of my favorite bits is this homemade 8-ball grenade. This is like a fork. It's very cool. So before we get into the gameplay though, full disclosure, I had planned originally to do a full-on series on the channel of Courier because I love the theme of it so much. Last year, I was actually working as a mail carrier for USPS. I did that job for 6 months, and so this just kind of fit into my world completely. But after reading through the rules a little bit, I kind of think that it's not exactly what I'm looking for in a TTRPG. It's not something that I'm going to want to play by myself, at least, in a full series here on the channel. And by that, I mean, I don't think it'll translate very well in long term in a video format. But that isn't to say that this isn't still a fantastic TTRPG packed full of rules that you might get a really good kick out of. So that's why we're still covering it here today on the channel, because I think it still has a lot of potential to offer. So we're going to learn how to play this thing, and we're even going to roll some dice and do some little mechanic-y things with Courier today in today's video. That's right. If you really do enjoy this Courier Let's Play, leave a like. And if this video gets enough likes, maybe I'll still do that actual play series anyway. That's right. So here we are at the top-down camera. Just so you can see, I've actually printed out some character sheets to go along with our book. There's so much stuff up here. Yes, and I've actually printed out a hex map that seems is a little bit light on the camera for some reason. I think it printed in kind of a gray, but it's kind of what we have to work with today. And this is cool to print out because there's actually a fun map mechanic that we're going to get into. And then, of course, if you're ever playing solo, always make sure to bring along pen and paper. And this game is actually designed for 1 to 3 players, right? So you can actually play this with a couple of friends. But for now, let's open up the book, and I want to read a little bit and show you guys what this thing actually has to offer, because there's a lot of really fun stuff in here. So we've got our table of contents with some fun little art here. And one thing I will say is there are some fun little jokey things in this book. I do think it was inspired by Fallout and some other stuff. But I guess before any of that, designing, writing, and layout was made by Cody Barr, and the art was by Sammy Winona. So good job, y'all. Especially this guy. He's really, really fun. So this is some of the stuff that I actually read in the intro video. I hope you enjoyed that. I'm trying to do more costumey things around here. But as it says here, no GM needed. This game provides itself the framework for creating and running the world without a game master, allowing all players to contribute equally to the storytelling process. The rules are designed to generate consistent and engaging challenges, ensuring that every session is filled with dynamic and unpredictable adventures. And I couldn't help myself but laugh when I was reading the Courier bit in the intro. But yeah, it's basically what it says. We're a beacon of hope, and I think the survivors of the wasteland depend on you to get their crucial deliveries to their destination, no matter danger or difficulty. And I think as a player, your character kind of needs to have that drive for this game to work right. So, and as it says here as well, Courier Repacked is a solo and cooperative role-playing game for up to 3 players. So it's kind of cool. A lot of times solo games are for 1. So actually having a game that is meant for more than just 1 is actually kind of fun. So this game uses a standard set of dice. You need character sheets, tokens, a map, a faction tracker sheet, set of dice. You need 3 6s, tools for writing, drawing, and erasing, and spare paper for note-taking and number crunching. And then we have this cool art right here that Sammy Winona did. Very cool. It's warm in here. So that there's coming off. All right, moving on here. We're going to create a quick little character for us. I had a crazy idea, this whole backstory that I made for a character that I was thinking about playing this for an actual series, but this game is mostly mechanic based. There isn't a lot of role play or even like solo oracle things that you roll on. We'll talk about that in a bit, but that's kind of what changed my mind. I was like, I want to do a more story based long-term actual play on the channel. So that's basically what changed my mind. But you have 3 stats. You have fight, agility, and charisma. For each of these stats, in order, roll 2d6 and add 3 for a total between 5 and 15. So pull out Charles, our skull of dice here, and see what d6s he has on offer for us today. Some people love this part. Some people hate this part. Ooh, I like this one for today. We'll also do that one and that one. And then for the rest, we're going to use our Grouch Couch orange dice because why not? All right. Thank you, Charles, for the dice. We appreciate it. All right, 3d6 plus 3. That is an 11 plus 3. Oh, I'm sorry. It says 2d6 plus 3. I'm a little dyslexic. So let's go on ahead and get rid of the red one. It doesn't match our theme today. So we'll do 9 plus 3, which makes it an 11. And then our agility is 4 plus 3, 7. And our charisma is also 11. And just so you know, you could swap stat totals if you want after they're all rolled up. And we roll 1d3 for our starting luck, which is right here on the character sheet. And what I do is I just roll a d6 and divide it by 2. So that is a 4, which makes it a 2. Some people are going to hate me for doing this in pen, but if I was doing a longer campaign, I promise I would do it in pencil. I just like this pen a lot, okay? Every courier starts with 1d6 plus 3 harm points. Is that a 1? Seriously? We have 4 HP. All right, and all couriers start with 5 scrap. I'm just going to put a small 5 there because we don't scribble that out later. Now, as an important note, all couriers start with 3 exhaustion. And exhaustion is kind of like action points in this game from what I've seen. As we can see here, 3 exhaustion and have a maximum of 3 exhaustion. This is an important thing to remember. Wow, the focus hates me today. And then this little stat here, CAR stands for cargo, and each player starts with 6 cargo. And like every other stat in this game, you could have a maximum of 15, and you get more cargo as you gain experience. Cargo basically represents how many things you can try to deliver at one time. All right, a couple more things that I just want to mention before we move on to the next page is that luck, actually, you get luck, as you can see here in this little gray box, you get luck whenever you roll a 1. So if you fail a roll and get a 1 at any time, you get an extra luck, and you can spend 1 luck to re-roll any 1 die for any action, which is kind of fun. There are lots of other actions, and water restores exhaustion and other kinds of stuff like that. But the name of this game right here, the important thing, all right, is fame. Fame is the important thing. That's what you want to be doing in Courier, all right? You want to be gaining fame with the mail places to be able to, deliver more mail, whatever. It even says, it's the couriers renowned in the wasteland. All the player completes contracts, aids factions, and discover new things, their fame will increase. This is the primary goal, is to reach a fame threshold. And as you can see here, it had such fame is gained by deliveries, reputation, unique locations, completing missions, right? But the recommended goal for fames are thus. So you can see here, starter, quick game, 5 fame, medium game is 10, and marathon game is 20. And I personally think that you could actually make a goal for yourself to get 5 fame with one faction and 5 fame with a different faction to try to be the all-around best mail carrier, right? Which could then in turn have you do a longer, more drawn-out kind of campaign, especially if you're doing it with your friends and you got like a group of people trying to deliver one package in the apocalypse. It could be really fun, right? But for us today, if we have enough time, we're actually just going to be doing a starter quick game. We're going to try to go for 5 fame. If we can get there, we're going to play through this. This is mostly tutorial anyway, right? Now, the next thing on here is our equipment, right? And so we actually have all starting characters start with the old pistol, which does 1d4 plus 1 fight, and a jumpsuit, which does 1d4 plus 1 charisma plus 1 agility, protection. In addition to these, we can purchase any more starting scrap. Here's one thing to note though. It explains it a little bit down here, but basically our old pistol here does 1d4 damage, but it gives us a plus 1 in fighting, right? So next to our character sheet, like I've already done here, you can see our fighting is 11, and I have that +1 right there, right? Some of the other games that you play, this is going to be a little bit confusing because other games, like especially the really big one by Wizards of the Coast, I think it's called like Lizards and Locations or something like that. Your bonuses come from your max stat total, right? Our bonuses come from our equipment in this game because I think this is a roll under game. We'll talk about that more later. Anyways, the same goes for our protection of our jumpsuit. And in this case, whenever someone attacks us, say they do a D6 of damage, they do that full D6. We have our jumpsuit, so we roll a D4 to try to reduce the damage. And if we get a full 4 on that, they get a 6, we'll only actually take 2 damage, which is good because in our case, our starting HP was 4. So we'll only lose 2, leaving us at 2. Math, right. The jumpsuit also gives us +1 to agility and +1 to charisma while we're wearing it. And those are stat bonuses that come from equipment. As a reminder, all couriers can have 1 weapon, 1 protection, 3 gear, and 5 items equipped at any time. Right. So you kind of have like things equipped and you have inventory and, but you can only have a certain amount of things no matter what. This isn't like carry weight, all right? In this game, you want more cargo to carry more packages. That's what it's mostly about, right? Now we have our character backgrounds, and one of these is really fun in here, but it ranges from Wasteland Cultist all the way to Wasteland Junkie. And each one of these is going to give you bonuses to your stats. Some of them also come with additional equipment that you can start with, or they give you like perks that you can actually have. Like the Recluse says, deal 1 harm when using an item that causes harm. You can also get 2 max cargo, -1 charisma, and +1 agility. But in our case, the funnest one in here is actually the Vaulter. You can see a little bit of some influence of where this influence on this game, right? The Vaulter. You've lived most of your life behind the safety of a vault door. Start with a PDA, buddy. And you get +1 to any 2 stats, +1 HP, and +3 luck, which I've already applied to our character sheet. But I want to show you where the PDA buddy can be found in this book. It is page 55. Right here, as we can see, you may re-roll a combat or skill test and use the new result once per combat or skill test. And this bad boy is worth 100 caps, or scrap, I guess. It's pretty good. It's a good starting item, especially for us just starting out, just playing it for the first time. Taking the Vault Dweller, the Vaulter background is kind of a good idea. So that's what we went with. And I did upgrade our character sheet already. As we can see, we have the PDA buddy here. I think I probably should have put it in gear, but I've also fixed our HP, our luck, and our base stats. I put +2 in our agility. I used tallies instead of numbers because I'm writing in pen like a dummy. So that is that. Oh, also, I whipped out a book to get the name of our character. And I'm recapping everything because the recording was corrupted, so I'm doing it again. And I rolled a 34. This is Table Fables. I have a full video that went up on the channel covering Table Fables. I love this book a lot, and I really want the second version, but I can't afford it right now. But hey, it is on our Amazon wish list if you want to see me cover it on the channel. But Table Fables, I got a 34. Our character's name is Gage. We are Gage the Vaulter. Now here's for the funnest part of this here book. We're going to create a starting map, you guys. And this is why we have our hex map printed out. You're going to want to do this. All right, there's loads of them you can get on the internet. Literally, you can just Google hex map on Google Images and just find one and print it out. You should be good. But there's also some really cool websites that provide really cool hex maps. But this is like your basic, looks like crap hex map. All right. We're going to roll 5 dice, any type, on top of our map. We're going to separate the results to make sure that they're at least 3 spaces away from each other. We're going to reroll any dice that go off the map area. We're going to mark each of the cells where the dice landed as best that we can. These are the faction bases, settlements, and then we go down and complete the following. So here I've got 2d4, 2 6s, and a 20. And that's what we're here going to roll on our map. And we're just going to drop them, right? We shook them up. We're just going to drop them like this. That's pretty sweet. I actually think that's perfect. But since they went outside of the map area, it tells you to redraw everything. But actually what I'm going to do is I'm just going to move all these because they're supposed to be 3 squares apart, right? So I'm just going to move all these down 1 because that there, put it there, is perfect. That's a perfect little map. So let's mark around it. I'm just going to do a line, doing lines. There we are. Those are our 5 locations. And we'll fill in the hexes as we go. There's going to be a lot more writing we're going to do in there. Again, do it in pencil, all right? Choose 1 location to be the Independence faction. Choose 2 locations to be an unaligned faction. The remaining 2 locations are random. Use the faction table on 48 to determine which ones they are. These need to be different routes and not Independence or unaligned. So re-roll if you need. And then also it says down here, each player now chooses any of the placed faction locations as their starting point on the map. So the fun thing here is that you do not need to be with each other as a party. This game actually kind of encourages you to split the party and be in different locations. It's kind of wild. I guess it doesn't encourage it, but it gives the option. So before we write everything down, it's actually over here on page 13, which is a couple pages over. It's a little kind of strange here, but settlement IDs right here. Players should identify settlements using the initial of the faction that owns it, followed by the settlement in numerical order. For example, independents with 3 settlements should have 1-1, 1-2, and 1-3. This makes contracts and mission targets much more easier to track. One little square. But as you can see in the example, it actually has, gosh, that's so blurry. Independent S3. So that's the independent faction, that's a settlement, and that's their 3rd square. Oh, that's their difficulty level. That's what that is. As explained over here, but right here it says each of these locations is difficulty level 3. Very good. So we have to choose one location to be the independents. And I think it makes sense for the independent faction to be way at the bottom. So we're going to put them right here. This is going to be their settlement. So we're going to put S, and then we're going to put a little 3 right there. Nice. And then since this is taken up, we're going to go on ahead and fill in that square. Like that. Independent settlement level 3. This is such a cool little mechanic. There's a lot of cool like cartographer games out there, but I like this a lot because of how simple it is. Cool. Now it also makes sense to me to make the 2 centermost factions unaligned. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to do an unaligned settlement here, level 3. And we're going to do an unaligned settlement here, level 3. And then we get to do some fun stuff. We actually get to go into the back and we get to roll on our factions chart. And I love me a good roll chart. Our factions table is a 1d20 table. As it said previously, only 5 factions can be on a table at once, on a map at once. So if we get independents or unaligned, we roll again. Let's see what these last 2 are. That is a 17. 17 is the Vault Wardens, which makes a lot of sense to us, for our character anyway. So settlement level 3. And then we'll go ahead and roll again. That's a 1, which is the independents. We already have that. 17 again. Vault Wardens, already have that. That's an 8. Strand Institute. All right, now that all that's done, we have a world timer that we're supposed to set to 1. And I'm just going to write that up here at the top of our paper. We're going to keep tally of the world timer up there. And now we choose any of the placed factions to start in. And with this, you could usually use a little token or something like that. So let's see what we have. I've got this really cool rat warrior that I got from Sword and Stone Hobbies. It's got awesome, cool little fake little grass down there. And it's just small enough to fit perfect on this little map. If you want to pick up some fully painted and detailed minis for yourself, you can go to Sword and Stone Hobbies and use our code or our link down in the description to get some money off. That's right, baby. All right, so we're going to start here. That's where we're at. This is Gage, the rat rogue. I need more minis, y'all. Righteous. So on the following page, it has how to play. It has the basics, and it has each one of the actions that we can take as a player, and it has descriptions of those here. But on page 15, which what we want to do first, I suggest you do the same, is you can actually, as it says here, perform a settlement action on page 15 to generate some contracts, or just head out and travel. So what we're actually going to do is we're going to perform the settlement action here at the vault. Whatever. Do we have, actually, let's see our description of the vault. The Vault Wardens, disciplined, technocratic, special. The Vault Wardens are the descendants of survivors who took shelter in the massive vaults hidden deep underground. They are known for their rigid discipline, advanced technological knowledge, and unwavering commitment to rebuilding the wasteland. So we actually have this page here that I also printed out. This is the Factions Tracker. Since we're starting at the Vault Wardens, we could write down all their stuff. So their starting power is 0, so I'll go ahead and leave that blank there. But they're a brand new faction. They ain't got nothing going on. And then we have their goals down here. And we can actually do progress and rewards, actually, from completing these faction-specific goals. This is a good place for you to write them down. So we have contact factions, create alliances, and rebuild the wasteland. We've got those down there. Each one of those gives us a little different reward. It's too much text for me to just write there, but I'm sure you could abbreviate it. And then the other factions here, I kind of leave a little bit of a mystery for our character, so I'm not going to read too much of them. And after we actually get to that faction said location, we'll come over here and read what they're about, and then write down their goals so we can learn more about them once we get there. It's kind of a little fun little thing. And there is some other cool stuff in here, like faction territory gains. So you could actually roll on the faction themselves, and the factions will then take up more area and more resources and stuff like that. It's kind of really cool. Like I said, this game is really mechanic heavy and less roleplay heavy, and that's why I didn't want to do a full long series of it on the channel, but here also are perks I accidentally skimmed over to, and that comes from getting experience and growth. So back to what we were doing. Let's go on ahead and roll. Let's do our settlement roll here, and it's going to take 1 exhaustion from us. We have a total of 3 exhaustions. We can make 3 rolls per move. When the player is on a faction location, they may deliver a contract, find new contracts, take on a new mission, heal, trade, and search for new companions. Do contracts, and it says max once. Max once means that the player can do the sub action up to once per settlement. Contracts are working agreements with couriers. with a courier. Spell check needed there. These are tracked on the contracts table for each player. The player uses new contracts up to the total difficulty level of the settlement plus 1 per contract action taken. For example, a settlement with a difficulty level of 0 would create 1 new contract or none, chosen by the player. So since the difficulty level is 3, we're going to generate 3 new contracts plus 1, so that's for a total of 4. Each new contract added the player rolls on the contracts table. We can record the information for the contract on the contracts tracker up to a maximum number of 5. Contracts may be discarded at the cost of -1 reputation with the faction that gave it. Aged out contracts are removed with no reputation loss. So we're going to go over to 56. We're going to generate... Then we got a whole nother roll chart full of some more mechanic-y stuff here. I'm telling you, this little book has a lot in it, y'all. I honestly do not think I'm going to be able to give like too much justice to this game, right? So this is definitely a baseline how to play on this game, just to see if you want to kind of delve into it yourself, right? Because it would take me a long time to go through exactly every single mechanic in this game, because there is a lot. Well, either way, let's go ahead and start rolling. D12, contract size. We've got a 2. We can pull over our character sheet here. Our contract size is 1 cargo. And then we roll again. That has a 6 distance, which is 3+. When determining a faction target is what we're going to do next. So it's 3+, 10. Sheesh. Nearest. Okay, so the nearest faction. Let's see. I think maybe here might be closest, or these are pretty, they're kind of even here. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, or 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Wow, that's crazy. And they're both the unaligned faction. I kind of want to go to the independents, so let's say it's this one. Unaligned south. And then we can put together our cargo size. 12. Cargo size plus 5, plus distance, and 1 fame. So the cargo size is 1, plus 5 is 6, plus our distance, which is 6, and a fame. So it's 12 and 1 fame. 12 scrap, 1 fame. That's what I put on there. That's our first contract. You see here, contract XP. Players receive XP equal to the total cargo size for a finished contract. So 1. We get 1 XP for that. Okay, done and done. We could also, on a settlement, trade, heal, and recruit companions. What does recruiting companions look like? Because we are kind of all alone. Here it says max once. Companions are friendlies that will follow you into the wasteland and help out where they can. To find a companion, a player rolls on the companion table below once and chooses to take the results from the roll. The scrap cost must be paid before hiring the companion. So we only have 5, so we could spend the action and possibly not even be able to get him. Oh, it says the companion's fee must be paid their total scrap cost when the world timer is filled. If the player cannot pay their scrap cost, then the companion is immediately removed from the player's character sheet. Okay, that makes me want to make sure we learn a little bit more about the world timer before we move on here. Oh, cool. And we also in here have a whole thing that better explains the faction tracker. What I did, I kind of thought it was self-explanatory, but there's actually full-on details about it that will actually help out a lot. So here we have world events. It says what we're looking for. A world event happens once the world timer is filled. If the world timer has reached 6 or higher, do one of the following. And then it does all the things. Very good. So 6 is the max of the world timer. There's also some other fun stuff in here about your home and resting and stuff like that, which we will get to in a little bit. But first, let's do the thing. Oh, and I also did find back here, there's a couple roll charts to like give Vault Warden leaders, for example, a little bit of flavor text if you want to kind of role play with them. But it's not enough, I don't think, for a full-on role play campaign, but you can give them like a little bit of. So all of that being said, we have our first contract. We're only going to take the 1, which is going to give us the 1 fame. Potentially, we could take more. We could carry up to 6 cargo, just so you know. If you want to like strategize to actually be able to finish like a full 5 fame in 30 minutes, I could potentially get all 4 contracts for the same location and I can carry all the same stuff, kind of like Death Stranding situation, a big old backpack on, you know, just kind of drudging through the wasteland. Totally a possibility that you could do. But for the sake of this video, we're going to just move forward to try out some other mechanics that this game has to offer. So we're going to reveal and travel. And we're trying to get here. No, we're trying to get to the south one, right? So we're going to go just down to this 1 hex right here. We're going to reveal and travel, which is going to take our second exhaustion, our second action. The player chooses an adjacent cell. If the cell is not empty, they move their character marker to the cell. If the cell is empty, the player performs a reveal action, then moves to the cell. The player must always roll 1d6 after moving. On a result of 4+, a travel encounter occurs for the location type the player moved on to. Follow the rules for Explore for this encounter. Unique locations must have their special effects resolved before doing the travel encounter check. Do not roll for encounters in settlements. How to reveal new cells. Number 1, roll on the locations reveal table on 42. Location reveal table. So I guess before we move, so we can write on it, we'll do it there. This is a 12. That is a 10, which means it is ruins. Then we roll on the same table to determine how many cells the newly discovered location occupies. And we have 1 through 4. That's an 11, which means it's 4 tiles. Roll on the same table again to determine the difficulty level. That's an 8, which makes it 2. Record the total number of cells with the information required. So we have 4 for ruins, and they all need to be connected to here. Ruins, a difficulty of 2, and there's 4 of them. So we can go this way, and then this way, and then I guess this way. It's kind of cool. Just filled up the map like that. All right, so now we have moved. All right, cool. So now that we have moved, as it says here, we must roll 1d6, and on a 4+, we actually get a travel encounter. That's a 2, so there's no travel encounter. And I believe that just ends that. But now that we're here, we can explore to discover an encounter for the current location. We could use our gear, we could rest here, or we can reveal and travel again. So we can just move again with the chance of it already revealing in the same day, right? Or we can explore where we are. I think it's smart to just move. So we're going to move to these ruins here, and then we're going to roll again to see if there's some kind of exploration thing that happens. That's a 5, which means yes, there is a travel encounter. Follow the rules for explore on page 14 for this encounter. On a roll of 4+, they roll on the explore table, pages 42 through 3, like 42 to 43. Very good. For exploration result matching their current location type. Exploration results are available for 3 location types: waste, ruin, and vegetation. The result will be a skill test, combat, or finds results. The player resolves the result, and then explore action is ended. Very cool. So each location has a difficulty level. This level is used to modify the skill test and combat difficulty for all exploration results at that location. For example, a location with a difficulty of 2 will add a -2 modifier to all player stats for skill tests and increase the HP of enemy by 2. Cool. So we're going to go over to page 42 to explore this area. Then we have our ruins exploration table. Roll a d12 on each column. That's a 6. We have found a toxic pool of contaminated goo. What is the encounter type? That's a 3, which makes it a find. To find this thing, we need to do a 9, which makes it a fight test. The fight test is versus 4 robots. We come across a toxic pool of contaminated goo. And across it, what do we see? Which we get to go to the next table on page 51. Finds and rewards is a d20. That's a 12. Humanoid encounters, monster and vermin and robots. So on a 12, we get 2 loot. So we see 2 loot things. All right, what are these loot things we see? On another 12, a makeshift med kit that restores 1d4 HP. And on a 7, we see irradiated water that can give us 1 exhaustion, but we get 1 rad. So there's, all right, so I wrote that down so we do not forget. So I'm going to go out on a limb here, and I'm going to say it's not much of a stretch to say that a fight test against robots to win this stuff, to get across, is probably combat. I'm just assuming here. So, setup requires the players to roll on the enemy table for the current location type to find the enemy type encountered. We already found robots. This is kind of cool, though. This means we get to explore the combat mechanics in this game before anything else. But I just want to go to 46, 47 just to see what they mean. Ah, I see. Now there's a robot table, so you got to find the specific robots here. And this is 1d6. That's a 3. Protector 3000. Their HP is X plus 7, which is difficulty, so 9. They have 10 fight, 1d6 harm, plus X, plus 2, because the difficulty of the location. 1d6 protection, and then the rewards from this is 3 finds. So now that we've set up the enemy encounter, I wrote the whole thing down there. As we can see, also on this page, it has the keywords. It actually says fast, pursue, and protection. So player attacking. Attacking is a fight skill test. On a player's success, I haven't read anywhere that explains that it's a roll under system. I just kind of know that it is based on like other games that I've played and the way that they set all their stuff up. Anyways, maybe it will here. Let's move on. On a success, harm is dealt by rolling the harm die. If the harm die rolled is at least the maximum value, the player rolls again. So dice explode in this game. It's kind of cool. Never stop exploding. I actually have a whole review of that on the channel. That's fun stuff. This is called an exploding die. The player calculates the total from the die rolls plus any bonuses. Protection listed in the enemy's keywords is rolled from the harm's total. Harm dealt to the enemy is subtracted from the enemy's current HP. An enemy is defeated if their HP reaches 0 or less. An enemy escapes. If they have 1 HP remaining after a player attack, both of these count as successes for the players and offer rewards. It says in parentheses right here, it says equal to or under when explaining the enemy's attack. So I am right. I just haven't found in the book where it says actually explains it. A player may attempt to avoid combat entirely by performing an agility test. This test is done at the very start of combat before either side performs an attack. On a success, the player ends combat with no rewards, but counts as a success. On a failure, the enemy performs their attack immediately. So you can risk if you don't even want the rewards. Like if we don't want the water in the med kit, we could just try to sneak by instead. But I kind of want the combat XP and I kind of want to roll this just to see how it actually works. So we've got our character, we've got the Protectotron, we're going to see them. There's a giant lake of nasty radiated goo. And we can see on the other side of the lake, we can see the Protectotron going back and forth. And right next to him, on top of a lawn chair, there's a bottle of water, a skeleton that's holding a makeshift med kit. And where Gage is thinking in their head, oh golly, because he's from the vault, right? He doesn't know much. Oh golly, I sure am thirsty. That robot looks dangerous though. Okie dokie. Let's go take him out. So we're going to pull out our old pistol and we're going to try to shoot at this robot across the pool of goo, right? We're just going to try to shoot him. And we have to get under our base stat. So we have to get under 11. I want to roll a different dice for this. Let's roll our big Dead Heroes dice right here. This big black and orange one. It's very cool. Give me a 10. That's a 3, which means we succeed as we fire our gun. And we deal 4 damage. And again, I hate D4s. I hate the way they're shaped. There are really cool D4s out there in the world. The ones that look like little crystals. And I really want one of those. Can't afford it right now, but I freaking want one. Those things look cool. All right, anyways. This is our damage plus 1. 3 plus 1 makes it a 4. So we don't get the full maximum value. But we deal 4 damage to this guy as we fire, leaving him at 5 HP. You know, ting, you know, hits off of his old thing here. And he turns and he's like, please come closer. That's not what a Protectotron sounds like, but you get me. And so he's going to now shoot at us. And his fight is a 10. So he needs to get, and actually he has a 1d6 protection that we have to roll on first. Dang, I almost forgot about that. That's a 2, which means we only did 2 damage to him, leaving to him at 7. All right, so now same thing. He's going to try to shoot his laser back at us. That's a 9, which means he does indeed succeed. He does a d6 of damage. That's a 5. We have 1d4 defense. That's a 4, meaning he only does 1 damage to us, leaving us at 4 at our current. Good. We almost died. Just then. We almost died. So now it comes back to our turn, and this is kind of a gameplay combat loop we're in now. Roll under 11. That's a 3 again. Sick. So now we're going to do our damage here. Plus 1. That is 3, and they defend. That is a 1, which means we do another 2 damage to them, putting them at 5. There we go. Just took another turn, but we got there. And then they're going to shoot their lasers back at us again. Here we go. They got to roll under 10. That's an 11, so they miss. And we get to fire again. That is a 6, which means we hit. We get to roll our d4 plus 1. That is 3 damage. Their protection is 5. We deal no damage to them. And they fire back. This is the gameplay loop. They miss. We fire back at them. That's a natural 20, which is a critical failure. I don't know if this game has anything. I also found this. Look at this. Courier uses a roll at or under system. I found it. It's in this little block on the first page. Cool. But it doesn't say anything about critical failures. All right, so now we're back to their turn, I think. They roll, they get a 5. Their damage is a d6. That's a 5. Whoops, we roll to defend with our jumpsuit. That's a 4. We take 1 damage again. We're alive somehow. This is crazy. All right, we fire back. That's a 7. We hit them with our d4. That's a 1 plus 1 is 2. They defend all of it. We deal no damage. They roll and get a 10, which means they hit. For 5 damage, we try to defend for a 1, and we're dead. Well, I really hope this is a good gameplay example of Courier. All right, this game has a lot of systems. I'm gonna put my Wasteland helmet back. This game has a lot of systems. It's got a lot going on. And I do think it'll take a little bit of time. But what I think with this game is that once you actually learn the way the systems work, you're gonna play through it a time or two. You're gonna be like, I wonder how that goes. And then on that 3rd time, it's all gonna click, and you're just gonna be running through hexes, shooting at robots. It's gonna be a grand old time. This works. It's not my cup of tea, all right? And I've said this about a few other systems as well. Not my cup of tea, but it works, okay? And it's good. Like I even have a review about Iron Sword and Starforge. I'm like, Iron Sword and Starforge isn't for me, but it works. all right? And it's good, you know what I mean? So I say the same for Courier. This is awesome. This game is really, really cool. It really is. I hope today was a good example of the system for you to want to dive into it and check it out yourself. And if you do decide to check it out for yourself, we got a link down in the description for you to pick it up, and by using that link to help support the dang old show. You know what I'm talking about? So, my friends, thank you so much for joining me on Courier. If you want to see me run this back, now that we've done it once and do an actual play, leave a like. If this video here gets enough likes, I'll do a full actual play of Courier. I will. It'll be more mechanic heavy, kind of outside of my box. But sometimes it's good to be outside of the Jack and Box, right? Go to Burger King. That's right. So, for now, my friends, leave a like on this video and take a seat on the couch and roll initiative, at least until you get laser blasted by a Protectron 3000 yourself. Roll on that, weirdos, and I'll see you next time. Toodaloo. This was fun.